Started, live started.
Okay, thank you, Akshay. Hi, everybody. Good evening, and thanks to everybody
Good
who
evening, ma'am.
has. Hi, good evening. Instead of Krishna, we'll be very happy to see your face. Hi, Sachin. Hi, good evening. You look a bit familiar.
I'm Radha Krishna Swami,
Oh, thank
SNC.
you, ma'am. Yes, thank you so much. Good evening, and
Thank
so
you.
kind of you to join. I hope you uh, are happy with the course. I know I'm really honored for
I'm
such
able to.
senior
Initially, I
faculty.
found it difficult, but I'm finding it easy, better now. There's a lot of questions, a lot of confusion, but I think I'll listen to the questions and answers, and I'll get better.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much.
It's an honor. It's an honor for us where we have such senior faculty enrolling into the program, and Radha ma'am is one of the pioneers and stalwarts of cricket world. So, guys, the ones who are tuned in, I'm overjoyed to even have you on this live. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
So, a warm hello to everybody, and thank you so much. Please do spread the word and get all your friends to participate. This session is for each of you, and we have Veda and Harsha who's going to handhold me in taking these questions. I know that we've tried to put together the course in the best of our abilities, considering we were recording it at a neck breaking speed. All right, this is the second cohort, and we are very fortunate that we have so many participants in thousands. I think among the 6, 7 sports science courses that are being offered, we are thrilled that we are touching definitely about what 4,700 this time or more, right? And we've had more even the first cohort. So, and we've had huge enrollments even for the exam. So, guys, thank you so much for the support you all have shown us, and I hope we could do better than what we have done in the first recording. And this course is obviously for you. And yes, given the nitty-gritties of the audience or the participants being so diverse, there was a reason that we tried to keep this course without the jargon, and I tried to simplify it as little as possible and tried to take the course in a very slow and steady manner so that everybody could understand or comprehend what I was trying to say, because we have participants across pan India, and I think we've had enrollments outside of India too. So this session is obviously an interactive session for each of you to ask your questions, queries, and we're open to feedback too. So let's get started. And I only request for each of you to kindly turn on your cameras if you would like to interact. So at least we can know who we are speaking with instead of speaking into the laptop, which can be a bit odd. Guys, let's get started. Anybody who wants to go first? Radha ma'am?
I think there's one question in the chat box. We can start off from there, and I think more people will open up, perhaps.
Good idea, Veda. Let's go.
So the first question is, as a sports nutritionist, is ability to understand and interpret blood test reports required to appropriately help an athlete?
Undoubtedly, 100%. And without evaluating the physiology, I think it'll be incorrect for us to just give advice. Particularly, one is as a dietitian who has already studied masters, where we are able to. I hope I am visible and audible.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am. Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Because
Yes, you are.
yes. Okay, wonderful. Thank you. So, as dietitians, the reason that we kind of take the pride in offering diet charts is the reason that we have studied 5 years of nutrition and dietetics. We either hold an undergraduate as a BSc or a master's, which is MSc in nutrition and dietetics, where we study at least 10 different subjects. And someone like me, who's a registered dietitian, we write 4 hours exam continuously for about 10 subjects, including nutritional biochemistry. So one of the main reason is working in the hospital, and as clinical dietitians who offer medical nutrition therapy, our forte is that we will be able to not just at random plan diet charts. Athletes will have certain deviations sometimes when there is high training, and even when blood parameters you want to evaluate, there will be elevated blood urea nitrogen, uric acid, and some of these parameters. For that matter, we will see high triglycerides because carbohydrate or sugar intake is high during the peak season. There are some parameters, even as the glycosylated hemoglobin, which is the blood sugars of last 100 days, can also be high. And as dietitians, the diet chart should ideally be made, even from sports nutritionists, a bit of background of clinical or understanding the physiology correlating to the blood test is always ideal, because just giving them high GI, which is high glycemic index or fast digesting carbohydrate as white rice, white bread, can be very useful when there is a need for a certain time when you're too close to training or in the competition cycle. But if the athlete already has, say, pre-diabetes, his HbA1c is elevated beyond 5.6, or triglycerides are extremely high, there's a genetic history of diabetes in the family. What happens is we are increasing his risk of certain other conditions. There, it is important for sports nutritionists or dietitians to correlate the blood parameter and give the guidance as a meal plan appropriately with moderate GI or slow digesting grains or other interventions which can preempt or enhance, his nutritional status without debilitating what the problem is. I know it was a
Can I,
lengthy answer, but I hope I could convey this.
yeah. Can I ask the follow-up question to this? Can I ask a follow-up question to this? I hope I'm audible.
Yeah, hi.
Yeah. So what I wanted to ask was,
May we know your
thanks,
name, please?
Pradeep. My name is Pradeep Biswas. I was the one who asked that original question that you answered to. I wanted to ask a follow-up question on this. So, are there any specific courses that one should take to accurately understand these blood reports? Of course, there are parameters available. One can actually see whether they are in the ranges and stuff like that. But probably a better interpretation would be if that some person can actually have probably a better insight to this. And also the other question is whether there is a recommended duration, like every 3 months or every 6 months, one should get the athlete to do these checks to ensure that nothing is out of whack because of the diets that are given to them or prescribed to them.
Sure. So, Pradeep, may I ask what background you come from? I mean, what have you, in your education, what have you studied?
Yeah, so I'm actually a computer science graduate by profession, right? So I'm also an endurance runner, which is basically got me interested in this course, not only to help myself, but also probably to fellow athletes as well, right? So that's basically my background. I don't come from biology background. I have studied biology in my school days, but I don't come from that background.
No, but nonetheless, at least the requirement or the prerequisite to join this course was that you should have basic sciences, because otherwise you will not understand the nutritional biochemistry or the creatine phosphate pathway that we are trying to talk about. And as an endurance runner, I hope you do relate to the theory that we are trying to teach, that
Yes.
it's a very inflammatory sport and the maximum injuries seen there. And I think with the number of post-COVID or the vaccine symptoms we've had with the issues of the heart health in runners, I think it's really come to the fore, or it's highlighted of how important it is to ensure you fuel and recover right, particularly if you're an endurance athlete and you are a runner. I know several runners who sign up with me who just don't even understand what is the basics of nutrition. They don't even drink water when they run for 2 hours. I think only once they develop niggles and injuries, they want to enroll on a professional program. So yes, now coming to, can you do any course? I'm not very sure, because the sports science at NPTEL itself is offering sports physiology by Colonel Anup. So maybe that is something you want to explore. But yes, to prescribe nutritional supplements and to offer the guidance, you ideally should be a registered dietitian. And like I said, we do a master's, we do an internship in the hospital, or work minimum 2 years in the hospital. And thereafter, we write an exam to get a registration number. And ideally, that's the way, or at least you should have a few years of degree or education in nutrition, where you are understanding how to correlate the biochemistry, which is your medical reports, and you are able to offer the right guidance. So at least a meal plan wise, of course, there's so much available on the internet today, and if you are well read, there's some way you can decipher that. But yes, legally and ethically, you will not be able to offer dietary and nutritional supplements.
Okay.
Ma'am, can I ask a follow-up question in continuation to this?
Oh, surely. Hi, please, guys, please do introduce yourselves. What you all do, it gives us a context, please. I mean, is that a real background of yours with the...
Yes, ma'am. That's
Oh, how
my
wonderful.
study come room. My name is Urvashi, and I'm from Noida. Um, like Pradeep, even I am an endurance athlete, but I come from a commercial artist background, no contextual biology, again, but I've spent some time studying sports sciences and did my ACSM, rehabs and stuff like that. So there is a little context in terms of understanding sports, but nutrition is really new. My question is more about in context to what Pradeep was saying, since you're now saying that we need to have more study and educational background to kind of prescribe things. But
Oh no, that was just to clarify, that was a response to what he asked. Coming
yes,
from a computer science background, can he become a sports nutritionist? Yes,
yes,
International Olympic Committee offers a 2-year postgraduate diploma program, and there is a of course, it's an expensive course. They're based in UK, and they profile you. There is a filtering process based on the inclusion criteria. I know a lot of non-nutrition people who pursue that, but I'm sure they have a process and a protocol in place to scrutinize and choose the candidates. So there are ways, of course. Today, nutrition, like I always jokingly say, I cannot go for a walk where I have not been asked a question when I've said I'm a dietitian. So from the doctors to the gym gurus to the fitness trainers to the Ayurvedic doctors to anybody and everybody speaks of nutrition, because that is unfortunately that is the way our system is, at least here in India, and with due
yeah,
respect. So this was just to clarify. What I set out to say is, because he asked me how can we progress into learning clinical dietetics.
makes sense.
Clinical dietetics involves not only studying, dietetics as a subject, but also interning in a hospital so that you understand the medical nutrition therapy and the clinical practical aspects, the applied aspects of it. Trust me, with 22 years of work almost, I'm still, I mean, I'm not AI and I'm not a robot, right? I'm after all a human brain. I can't know everything to the T. There's so much we still don't know.
Right.
So just to reiterate that, please.
No, yes, ma'am. My question was more about a topic that you had in your videos on wearables, right? Those are also the indicators of where you were talking about a good sleep and indicators of high rate and stuff like that, right? Again, they're also slightly unclear of how do you interpret those variables as well, right? Sometimes it's just like it goes higher and then we assume, oh, it's going higher, right? And as endurance athletes, and I've seen this mostly in athletes where they go back running and they're like, okay, let me drop my heart rate because it's going high right now, so it needs to just drop, right? They don't understand the concept of averages and stuff. But more from our perspective as sports nutritionists, what are the things that we could consider from those wearables perspective also, right? I mean, of course, these reports are slightly way beyond, at least my intellect, but how could we at least interpret these variables, and how do we kind of understand and use that to our benefit when we're looking at nutrition?
So, Urvashi, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So, Urvashi, thank you for asking this question. And I think practically, I think this is wonderful, because we've had athletes who come back to me and say, my watch tells me I've burned 2,000 calories. trust me, humanly, it's impossible. They'll say, I did this workout and, I did a high intensity session. And, I know that you can eat 1,000 calories in a bowl of biryani. But when the client tells me that I did a marathon session and this is what I burned. So one is understanding the guide of what an activity factor could be, or an activity, the calories burned for an entire hour is typically in the lab setting. So which means that there is one aspect of references where we can fall back to say that, yes, perhaps this is what it could be in a lab setting. But trust me, when you are a runner, you may relate to that. When you have already stepped out, there are so many other parameters that influence your running: the heat, the weather condition, the wind, and so is cycling. So it's very dynamic. And to coming to the point of the question of variables that you asked me, I know that in calorie estimation they overestimate. Okay, and that's period. And of course, it's not my forte, but I do understand from the conferences or the research articles that we read that what's important is with consistent training, all these parameters do get steady, and I do believe you will reckon and agree with what I'm suggesting. So it's not one odd or ad hoc reading that you'd want to correlate. So I think what is important here when you look at wearable technology, as you would have kind of correlate that with the lesson that or the video lecture that we've offered, is that look at the trajectory and the trends or the pattern that it suggests, and don't look at it in random as one reading. And if even simple things as heart rate, in my understanding is the more elite the athlete is and the more well trained and his cardio or his fitness level is, will always have a lower heart rate, and of course can come to even the heart rate that is the immediately on stopping the exercise can adjust or adapt better. But I think here the catch is, Urvashi, that we want to look at discipline and consistency, because we do have some of these marathon runners I work with in Bangalore. Either they are out of shape, they have other health concerns, and a guy who's already overweight or obese is obviously having a huge strain, not just on his bones and on his legs, his knee, and but also on his his cardio parameters, where his heart is working that much extra to carry that extra load, right? So you are not careful about what you eat or your exercise regime through the week, but then you want to hit 5K in the weekend. That may not be the right approach. So in some way you need to build that training load gradually to the objectives you set for an entire season, versus I think consistently doing your sprints or distance run or at least 2 to 3 weeks, and allow a few months for these training adaptations to occur, which means that it is not overnight, it's not instantaneous, unlike our your grocery delivery that arrives in 15 minutes or 5 minutes. Unfortunately, these health parameters are very intangible, subtle, and typically will require a few weeks of consistent training for you to see the patterns or the outcomes of even what these variables are suggesting.
Got it, ma'am. And ma'am, is there a way to kind of read these? How do we kind of interpret it, right? My question is more around how do we interpret this as nutritionists, that hey, I see a pattern in the heart rate. I see, like you were talking about sleep also in your recovery module, right? So those interpretations is what I'm more looking at.
If you know already that you have a high heart rate, one is to look at the training periodization. Like I said, start small and be consistent. Nutritionally, you have to look at also increasing your ability of VO2 max, which is oxygen uptake for exercise. And how can you do that? One is through breathing techniques, yoga, and so on. But nutritionally, you also have to look at foods that can increase nitric oxide, perhaps. So that could be, say, if it's already an obese individual, can he down beetroot juice, which is, you have a chapter on nitric oxide, right? How to improve your cardio or your your circulatory system, where to improve your oxygen uptake. And how does that happen? One is to look at foods that can improve that. be it your beets, your citrulline, not those are supplements, sorry, but looking at vasodilators, so your lettuce, arugula, rocket leaves, and so on. And other thing is to look at nutritional deficiency. And unfortunately, sorry guys, I have to go back to the blood parameters, and you need to be a clinician for that. If you have nutritional deficiencies of, say, iron, you are going to be panting and gasping for air. And trust me, a majority of the people who we work with, especially if you're a professional or elite athlete and you train a few hours, especially in runners, it's an impact sport. There's foot strike hemolysis, there is RBC rupture. Are you a female athlete? You menstruate, you're losing iron in your blood. What is your age? Have you have you attained menarche? Are you menstruating regularly, or are you also premenopausal? What is your age group, and what is your iron status? Are you vegetarian? Are you vegan? Is there a challenge absorbing iron? Do you have gut issues or irritable bowel syndrome that can make it complicated not to have intrinsic factor in your stomach or in your intestine that absorbs the iron? And iron is not a standalone, you know, stalwart of a nutrient. It works in synergy. If you see the chapters, guys, I'm reinforcing what I'm actually teaching in those lectures. You need to understand the nutrient interaction for absorption. It's never iron alone. It's iron, vitamin C, B12, intrinsic factor, and gut health eventually. So that is the way you have to look at, okay, can we improve the B12 parameters through nutritional supplementation? If they're vegetarian, they may not be optimally deriving B12 only from food. Dals is insufficient. You only need animal-based foods, which is dairy, and you need either non-veg as eggs or poultry. Or if you consume non-veg, then perhaps the heme iron, which absorbs better. Sorry, the B12. The B12, of course, and also the heme iron. And then you need to also see, how you can improve their deficiencies where their oxygen carrying ability of the blood itself improves. And that's not going to happen until you intervene either through oral supplement protocol when you work with either a sports physician, a doctor, a pediatrician, or a sports dietitian or a nutritionist who's qualified to do this. And we have had instances where coaches have offered ignorantly and in a very unscientific manner certain supplements to athletes or children, which is actually not just unethical, they can actually be sued legally, because giving certain supplements which involves changes in the blood parameters should be ideally very sound and should come from a very good knowledge base of what is the right dose. Like I always say, a preteen may require a pediatric dose, and so will a lady or a man at 50 years may require doses which is not going to jeopardize their safety and compromise their heart health. I think these are things that we want to correlate as a clinical requirement of what are their symptoms, what is their blood parameter, what are their clinical parameters. Are you fatigued? Are you tired? And discussing that and understanding from their food history of 3 to 7 days of, what do they consume? Are they vegetarian, non-vegetarian? Where is their challenge? Can they cook? Do they eat outside? I think it's as I say, it's not one straightforward answer, but I think it is an amalgamation and an intricate approach to have a holistic evaluation, and then offering that, the guideline of the meal plan along with the supplement protocol. So is with sleep. Why are you not sleeping? Are you stressed? Do you spend a lot of time on TV? I mean, on the mobile, or you watch TV late night, which many clients do, trust me. So is it because you are so overwhelmed with your work pressure, or you're disturbed, you're emotional? There are so many things. Do you train at 10 in the night where your metabolic rate is so high that you will never be able to fall asleep for 2 3 hours thereafter? Do you consume your meal at 11? I mean, I think there are several criterias that you want to assess before even personalizing this, you know, uh, guideline, like what you offer to that individual. And many people genuinely have health issues. They could be going through some health condition. They could be having, sleep apnea, insomnia. I deal with cases of some of these that I've just mentioned on a day-to-day basis. So I think, yeah, this definitely requires digging deep. And instead of generic one size fits all to say you do this, just because somebody took a 10,000 IU of a vitamin D, God forbid, you can't offer that to somebody else. What is their level of vitamin D, and what is their age, and what is already their pre-existing medical condition and their health risk? Like I already was just talking of the vitamin D recently on another webinar. A guy who's already obese, has high visceral fat, high blood pressure, and already is predisposed to a high risk of heart disease. If you give them 60,000 IU sachet on a regular routine basis, it is so dangerous for this person because of hypertoxicity, which can lead to hypercalcification artery walls, increases risk of atherosclerosis, and rather can increase his risk of heart disease. So it's a context. Thanks to everybody who's being very patiently listening, but I hope this is helpful.
It is, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. So we'll take the next question. That's from... Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you, with Harsha.
Yes, ma'am. So the next question is from Mr. Bhaskar. He asks, is DEXA scan an accurate way to measure body composition parameters? Is there any better clinical tests available?
Oh dear, what a tricky question this is. So I know that from the scientific papers, dual X-ray energy absorptiometry is one of the gold standards used for bone mineral density. In some way, they also do suggest that yes, for body composition, in some way that DEXA is also a very good measure. But do remember, DXA, which is DEXA scans, expose you to X-ray radiation. They're expensive, though they are non-invasive. But what happens is that these scans are very bulky, expensive. You need to be going to the facility to get them done. And of course, there's a cost involved to it. Besides, you can't be doing them routinely because you do not want to expose yourself to these X-ray radiation often than needed. So there are other techniques which we have already called out in the lecture for body composition assessment. A simple measuring tape or a thread, a simple thread which is available freely at home to measure your own body waist and to minus that from your height in centimeters. And if it's less than 50%, that is already, is a decent, good yardstick to know where you stand. You really don't need anything fancy. However, there are bioelectrical impedance machines anywhere between 10,000 all the way to 5 lakhs, which can give you the differentiation of your lean body mass or also your adipose mass, which is your fat, versus your muscle mass. However, they can be a deviation of 10 to 20%. So which means that you want to repeat them routinely so that you are getting some kind of a trajectory or you are able to track that. Of course, and in the research setting, we have the bot pod where you need to hold your breath and get into a small little capsule. It's a little cumbersome. So I think for a commoner, for you and me, I think just either going by your body measurements or even for that matter, just doing bioelectrical impedance, which is a small machine that sends out electrical waves that bounces off differently based on either your muscle mass, your fat mass, your water, or your bone, I think is a very simple technique, harmless, and can be used effectively to track progress.
Thank you, madam.
Hi. Bhaskar, would you like to ask a question?
No, that was the question I asked. Okay, yeah, I'm just telling you thank you anyway. So I am using the bioimpedance machines like normal weighing machine, right? So there anyway,
Perfect.
I can see the body fat measurements. Okay.
Yes, that is wonderful. And even visceral fat is also available in some of the machines. So you can know if you have central adiposity, are you large in your abdomen, that can actually increase your risk of other health issues or, non-communicable disease or lifestyle conditions. So it is good to track it routinely, and kindly don't do it every day. I have some athletes who send me 2-3 readings in a day saying my body weight is changing every hour. And I'm like, good Lord, these are the lucky dudes who have the time to check so often. These changes are very subtle. They take a few weeks of time. So you can always allow 30 to 45 days. There is, of course, there are two different school of thoughts. If you believe that weighing yourself every day can motivate you to adapt to better lifestyle practices, in a way it helps you to attain your goal, then please do it. But if it upsets you and it derails your thought process and you get emotional about your weight, then kindly don't do it, because it's not needed. Body weight will change through the day. If a girl is going through her PMS, she will hold more water. If person is on creatine, they will hold more water. If there is a athlete using carbohydrate loading 2 days prior to the tournament, they hold more water because carbohydrates retain water. You eat pizza and chips in a restaurant in the previous night, you will hold more water because sodium is, going to retain some water. So it does not matter. Like I say, always allow time for these body composition changes to occur. Next, please.
Yes, thank you, ma'am. So we'll take the next question. It's
Ravi,
from,
I think Ravi wants to ask a question, perhaps.
yes.
Sorry.
Yeah, sure.
Ravi, would you like to ask a question?
No, ma'am.
Okay. No, because you popped up on my screen, so I was wondering if you'd like to ask a question. Sorry. Harsha, over to you.
Yes, ma'am. So the next question is from Sakshi S. Patil. She is from Nagpur, Maharashtra. She says, I am currently working as a clinical dietitian. I wanted to ask that my thesis topic was sports nutrition during my master's, and since then I have always wanted to work as a sports nutritionist. Any guidance on how we can work as one? Bit confused. Thank you.
Glad that you are already honed in on sports nutrition. It's a wonderful profession to pursue. I think to begin with, if you do not have an academic qualification in sports nutrition, maybe you can upskill and pick up either a diploma or a long-term course. The course we are offering is wonderful and comprehensive. Of course, it's my baby. I'm going to be very proud of this course. In whatever way we put it together, be it the limitation of the time, the recording, or whatever be it. I know there's more to come, and in the coming days, I hope that we'll be able to offer more courses and more longer duration of a program. For now, what is important is that if you can pick up even a 6 months course or a year diploma program, that will be wonderful. And there are several ways you can pick up a career in sports nutrition. To begin with, gymnasiums, I think, or fitness centers are one of the best ways. From sports academies, even hospitals have sports nutrition or sports medicine department, and you could offer your services there. And today, I think youngsters as Veda and Harsha will be able to guide you better on what, sports nutrition, the applications of these. And if you see my own experience or my work credentials, and you can look me up on LinkedIn or anywhere else, I think I'm very, very fortunate that 21 and a half years, I don't think there's a job that I've not done. I started my first job as a lecturer in Mount Carmel College, and I was a student there, and I was teaching with my own lecturers. So that was my beginning. I was enrolled for PhD in the meantime twice, and I in fact went knocking to the third university. So I then went on to do research. So I worked in clinical research setting. I picked up a course in exercise sports nutrition a dozen years ago, which was an honors course of 40 hours. In the meantime, I had already done the certified diabetes educator course. I was working in the hospital. I went on to work with the most elite of the Google R&D center, which had only 140 employees, which was a research center. So simultaneously, I was lecturing at a hotel management college. I did a lot of work with the corporate world with Apollo Life for over 2 years. So, and in the meantime, I was of course studying, and then I went on to teach Cambridge, or an international curriculum at the international school. I was the head of the department. And of course, currently I do a bunch of things from college, universities, I consult. I wrote some nutrition articles for magazines and newspapers a few years ago routinely. So I think there is no dearth of what you can do. And I hope in some way I could give some, pointers or leads to what she can pursue. I think, of course, I've also worked at Gold's Gym years ago, very early in my career. So I think every job is wonderful exposure and experience. And I think you should take on anything that comes your way related to this field. It's okay to focus on learning initially. Don't worry much about the remuneration aspect. I think we've all been there, done that. And nutrition is still a very niche vertical. And today, sports nutrition is really picking up the momentum with so much buzz around sports and nutrition. I think, this is going to be immense scope in the years to come. The way you could bridge this, even content writing. Writing articles for blogs, content writing. I've had pharmaceutical companies ask me to write content for their nutraceutical products. Of course, I've done one or two random of them, but I've never had the time for it.
Ma'am, I'd like to ask something on the same line. So I'm Sanika Mahajan, and currently I am pursuing my bachelor's from SNDT in nutrition and dietetics. So I'm planning to do my master's in sports nutrition as I'm a basketball player myself. But from whatever I've talked to sports nutritionists, they usually say that in India there's not much scope as such. Of course, there's increasing demand for sports nutritionists, but which is why I am considering going abroad, that is Australia. So I'd like some guidance about this topic. Where is a better place in terms of income as well, and in terms of gaining more knowledge, and where is the better scope for a sports nutritionist? And of course, I got this advice that don't just focus on sports nutrition as such. You might have different types of client coming in, so you need to have more of the clinical knowledge as well. So what sort of degree
Even
should
if
I
you're a sports
pursue?
nutritionist, you need to have sound clinical knowledge. Okay.
Yes, makes sense.
I'm emphasizing that multiple times. Doing things just say eat one banana and you try and play badminton is really not sports nutrition.
Right, right.
And my dear girl, you must turn on your camera. Thank you.
Yeah.
Now I'll be very happy to answer your question. So first and foremost, are you looking to pursue studying outside of India, or are you looking to pick up a job outside of India? They're two different things.
I'm going to go for masters abroad. That's what I'm thinking as of now, and then later might pick up a job if I am considering going abroad.
Okay, wonderful. So there are many aspects of then approaching this. So you can definitely apply to several universities based on the amount of budget you have, or you can raise a loan. Nobody had taught me that. I've been very self-made, and I think I wish I had some guidance from my mentors who could have offered me better guidance. Today, I would have completed my PhD and I would have been a doctorate if I had not lost out on the right the guidance rather. I think mentors are very important in life. Now, on that note, my dear, you will have to see the universities which offer scholarship based on, if you're already an athlete, based on the sports quota, they will offer you anywhere from 10, 20, 50% scholarship. And there are also very, like, in fact, I myself have been enrolled at University of Stirling for an Olympic upgrade research program. It's just that it was bloody expensive and I did not take it up. Okay. So you could also pursue studying and also simultaneously do some research programs. Look for universities that can give you scholarship, number one. If in some way you can be involved in research projects, number two. And the budget, how much money can you raise? Because Loughborough can be, I don't even know. I mean, sorry, I don't think I can still afford it even now for my PhD. I've already researched. If I could pursue that, and now forsaking another 3-4 years of studies is, it's intense, at least at my age. So I think like I always say, and youngster, especially girls, I always say, sort out your education right, because I think going the family way, if you're married, your children, it just gets that much harder. Don't get me wrong. I mean, these are just my thoughts. because I have a son, and I think I've juggled so many things and happen to also balance these responsibilities. Whereas when you, of course, you are just in your college or early in your career, you can focus on finishing. Research is intense if you want to pursue doctoral studies, or also you could do research without pursuing doctoral studies and publish research papers, so in peer reviewed journals. So based on your budget, so sterling is lesser than Loughborough. Of course, Australian Institute of Sport, these the pioneering guys, right? And there are a lot of universities in US also, which are far more economical than doing studies in Europe, UK, or Australia. So explore these options, and you definitely want to also talk to few people who are already ahead of you, your seniors, your mentors, or your connections who are able to give you leads on which courses to apply. Because here in India, we just say sports nutrition. I wish I had these opportunities, I could still take them up. But you, the youngsters, are lucky. So if you go outside, not just in sports nutrition, you will have exercise physiology. I mean, there are so many verticals that you can pursue. So I'm not the best person here to offer this academic guidance, but yes, in my understanding, I think this is best I can say that it's a good decision. Plan it well, apply for scholarship, and in some way also I understand the teaching role, teaching assistant, because you're going to be compensated by the hour, so you can generate an income which can help you balance. Otherwise, living outside of India, because I've taught for a United Kingdom Cambridge curriculum, I know I've dealt with children and expats who always go to foreign universities. It's not easy. It costs over 1 crore, and then which means that you are on your own in the university. You have to do your laundry, you have to cook, clean. Either you make your right now my own swimmer Ahir is in University of Stirling. These boys, they're all huddled up in a little, I don't know, is like a chalet, like a house. They cook their own meals, and which means that there's an additional expense. If you need to even eat out one meal in the cafeteria or pantry, it really pinches you. And you need to be studying, mind you. Even if you're an athlete and you play for the university, you have to still look at other responsibilities because you're on your own when you go to a foreign university. So yeah, these are the things you really have to be very, very sure, because it's a life-changing decision.
Right. Now I'd like to ask you about the scope of sports nutritionist or a dietitian in India. I'd like more light on that subject.
I think you should just look me up.
I will definitely do that.
No, what I'm trying to say, guys, if I on a scholarship, I lost my, sorry, this is a bit of a personal journey, if I may say. I lost my papa to cancer when I was less than 17. I was just barely in second PU. I studied on scholarship. I didn't know where to go. I studied in a, university college in my master's, just that I did not even realize that there was something beyond Bangalore I could have. And by the way, I've always been a gold medalist at undergrad, in postgrad. I've always been a high achiever. And but I wish I had some more guidance. I was enrolled for PhD just out of my master's MSc. But what I'm trying to say, child, is if I could do this, trust me, anybody can do this better than me. But remember to upskill, and always keep an eye for learning, and you need to keep improving. One is to understand the science, but one other aspect of it is to use it and apply it. They're two different things. You may be highly academically qualified, but if you don't know the application of what actually happens with it practically, and it's a learning for all of us. Like with all humility, I say, I don't know everything, and I cannot. I'm just a human, right? But to also be open minded to say that there's lots to learn from youngsters, and which is true. I think today's youngsters are more dandy, savvy, better, at technology, at so many things. Whereas even the smallest of the things, I am handicapped. So yeah, explore these options and you will always be in good stead. Don't go by one odd ad hoc or random person telling you, in India, sports nutrition is not the thing. Why do you think everybody is pursuing sports nutrition? Because it's the way forward and the future. And you need to do your own research. Kindly do not believe, like a blindfolded horse. You cannot just take everything people give it to you at face value. You have to scrutinize, do your homework and spade work and your research to arrive at what you want to do eventually, right? Because it is your future and your passion. Always pursue something that you have the calling. Because I think, like, if I did not enjoy my work, like today, I was invited as a chief guest at a very important, professional networking for sports nutrition. And some big guys are being invited for the panel. But I am already committed to this, right? I mean, it will be incorrect for me to be elsewhere, even if it was more inviting. But I think so that is commitment, right? I could have easily rescheduled this live, but am I not doing this live? I could be somewhere else. Because I had already scheduled this and I was committed to it. So I had to decline the invitation saying I have a lecture already planned and I can't cancel that.
Thank you, ma'am. Your advice was very insightful.
Hello, ma'am.
Hi, Arvind.
Ma'am, actually, I'm outside of the city, so maybe some voice
No
will
problem.
be
You can go off the video.
okay. Ma'am, I'm a personal trainer, and I have a my. This is more like a career guidance person, not related to too much nutrition thing. So, I'm a personal trainer. I did a certification from ACE, American Council of Exercise, and I have my own personal business, like Google business account. I generate client. I have well settled like business thing. But the main thing is what I faced, giving a proper training and giving them a nutritional advice is totally different thing. So giving basic advice is fine, but when members face some different issues, so I don't have any particular solution for that problem. I know that thing. I can say anything they will believe, but I know I don't have a exact solution. So recently I came for this certification and I know nutrition is important. So with this, I thought let's do sports science certification, or sorry, course by Olympic Committee, whatever that I think you refer that thing. It is costly, but I think I can manage because I have a well settled clients and also business thing. So is it worth it to do that thing or just make it as a business thing and pursue it by hiring nutritionists and by collaborating with them? So should I have to give time to that 2 year sport nutrition course, or should I do my own job and collaborate with the people?
Wonderful, Arvind. Thank you for asking this question. And I think it was so meaningful today, the way we look at even sports nutrition in Bangalore. It's a huge business, it's lucrative. And like I always tell each client of mine and athlete who works with me, please do remember that I am not a businesswoman, I'm a professional. Okay? Because running a business is a different ballgame. You're an entrepreneur, and there is a requirement in some way. I think the goals are different. Whereas as me as an academician, educator, and also as a professional, I think my objectives is to meet my client goals. One is to understand, do you want to be a businessman, generate money out of it, or genuinely is it your passion? It's not about the money. I also worked in the international school as the head of the department and a faculty. I not only did board exam correction, I was a Cambridge accredited examiner, which means it was the workload was a very responsible job for me because I was a not just a faculty, but I was also an examiner, which means that I handled A levels and IGCSE, which means like 10th standard and 12th. I not only taught because nutrition was something like MasterChef. You also have to cook 5 dishes simultaneously with the Cambridge curriculum. It's all British, so we also mark. So what I'm saying is, if you're passionate, I worked as a school teacher. I used to pay my Olympic fee in installment because I needed the money. What I'm trying to say is, it was not because I wanted to become a businesswoman and generate money out of it. But in some way, I'm so grateful to God that it changed my life. So, is it because you have the deep desire to put in the hard work? It's not about paying the fee in pounds to United Kingdom. Of course, they're also based in UK and London, and they're also headquartered in Lausanne and Switzerland. But you should be willing to spend a lot of time doing the assignment, very deep paperwork. You have to read a lot. There are lectures which run in over 1 hour, but you watch the videos, you need to spend 2 hours to learn and write down notes. So it's not just exhaustive lectures, videos, they're all online. Of course, it's expensive, but you should be willing to put in effort because bi-monthly you have assignments and one huge annual project. So I did my first year annual project, which was a big goof up. But the second year, I did an actual case study and I wanted to integrate an athlete and diabetes, but I couldn't get a diabetic athlete in Bangalore. The referrals I was getting were all outside. So I then worked on a badminton player as a case study for 4 months. And I've been meaning to publish that paper till date as a case study. And that was the first time I scored the highest marks in that as an annual research project. So what I'm saying, Arvind, is you need to have the passion not for just paying the fee as a requirement, but be able to put in the hard work to study and those additional reading of research papers which would run in 4 pages. I swear to God, I never read because I never had the time. I used to deal with board exams and I could barely finish through the lectures and bare minimum reading. I used to stay up till 11, 12 midnight because I did a full-time job. So I had to stay up and read my, lectures and make my notes. And it's a open book exam. For the first time in my life, I did an open book exam. But believe me, you think open book exam is easy. You're given 24 hours. We are in India, so we are 5.5 hours ahead of UK. But believe me, 24 hours go like this. And everything is time bound. You have to give 5 research references. You have to use exact 100 word count. If you go 1 word more, they will deduct your marks. And the marks are distributed across assignment, the annual your research program, and also for a final exam, which is time bound, word bound, and it's an open book exam. But trust me, if you don't know where to look, you won't have the answer, even if you have the book with you. So yeah, so I know that my answers are very lengthy, and I always have a story to say to share. But in some way, I hope I gave you an insight of what this is. And of course, if you think that this is not my cup of tea, we are always there to collaborate with you. Please reach out to us.
Ma'am, I love to because I have so many elite clients and uh, I I want someone who can give them a right solution. They are literally not bounded with actually money thing because they are good to pay whatever I demand. They just want somebody who gave exact solution of their problem. That's it.
Which city are you based in, Arvind?
Actually, right now I am in Jabalpur and right now I am in Indore. Recently, I just completed Devil Circuit.
Oh
Maybe
wow,
I just completed and gave.
is that the ultra endurance?
Not ultra endurance. They have, I think, 4 5 kilometer track and 10 20 10 or 11 or 12 challenges.
Well, happy to hear that. Thank you.
Like,
Thanks for bringing up this and educating us on that. We'll definitely look it up. And yes, me and my girls will be very happy to collaborate. I think there's no dearth of qualified individuals who can collaborate and professionally add value. So if you do not want to go the Olympic way, because it's not just the fee like I already called out, there's a lot of passion, hard work, and in a way that you really want to help people and assist them, because it calls for a bit of selflessness. And it's not just money driven, right? It's not a financial transaction. And of course, like I said, there are a lot of good people who have their professional and professionalism and their ethics. So find the right people to collaborate, and you can do a great job.
sure, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank.
Ma'am, I think there are a few questions on the YouTube live as well.
Yes, please.
I'm so sorry for cutting you, but I think they're not able to ask as well. So I'll just ask a couple of questions from there, and maybe if you could quickly give the answer, that would be great.
Sure.
So one of the questions is basically how to deal with, it's from Faizan, and he's asking how to deal with calf pain while running and stiffness of leg muscles. So this is one of the questions. Maybe there's also one more question about fasten up over here, something relevant to electrolytes, probably could be clubbed so that we're answering both the questions at
Okay.
once.
Right. So I think if I got his name right, Faisal, but yeah, that's a very complicated question. Running is an intense sport. Now, one is, of course, as a runner, you know better than me. You have to warm up and start right, stretch, and ensure that you are taking care. But apart that, nutritionally, these, getting a catch and cramps is what he said, right, Veda? So that could be a multifactorial reason. That it could be either lack of hydration, because and we don't know what is the age, or is it a hot, humid environment that he runs in. Hydration, electrolytes, sodium, magnesium. I think you need to take care of all of that, and of course the protocol of warm up, which can ease that. Now with Fasten Up or any other, I don't want to drop names here, guys. Please, kindly please pardon that, because the question was asked on a particular brand. I don't know the specifics to that question. There are dime a dozen electrolytes that are being available commercially. It is good to use isotonic, as we call out in the chapters, between 6 to 8%. So based on the need and how intense or how long the session is, so which means that if you're running in a very hot and humid environment, in a 500 ml, even over 30 grams of any sweetener, be it Glucon-D, sugar, jaggery, palm jaggery, any sweetener that can give you an isotonic, meaning 6 to 8%. In 100 ml water, 1 heaped teaspoon is approximately 6. So if you can make that at home, you don't need anything fancy. Even maltodextrin, like I said, is a starch powder that can be used. So combination of maltodextrin and fruit sugar, which is fructose, diluted sugar, can be used. But ensure you add some sodium also, at least 1 or 2 pinches for every 100 ml, which means that if you are a salty sweater or you run in a very hot and humid environment, ensure you take definitely a little more salt, or prior to you running itself, you take enough electrolytes as nimbu pani, or in some way there is some amount of salt added in your diet. If you're taking dahi rice, eat a pickle on the side or add a pinch of salt, so that you start well hydrated prior to your run. And sodium helps hold water. If you run beyond half an hour to 45 minutes, electrolytes is an absolute must, otherwise you will surely crack.
Thank you, ma'am. I think that was pretty comprehensive. And there are a few more questions on the YouTube front, so I'll just address that. So one of the question is from Mr. Satyajit, and he's telling, I've been overweight most of my adolescent life, and I used to work out and control my weight during college days, but now I'm a working professional, and I find my weight to go up even with 2 weeks. So this is another question. It's pretty hyper individualistic, I feel. But yeah.
No, so weight is a very complicated one, and what happens is, one is the genetic endowment. But now, if you see my lecture on epigenetics, we cannot blame thyroid, PCOS, or any other health condition only to genes. There are ways that we can manage this with lifestyle, because if you would like to address it, please seek the help of a professional if you're not able to manage on your own. I have a lot of clients who lost about 20 odd kgs on their own, and I really commend that and I applaud that. It's not easy to hold the discipline to work out, do the simple, boring, mundane things of eating healthy, calculating your proteins, not eating out, restricting going out. I mean, it takes a lot of the self power, what do you call it, willpower, sorry, the willpower to sustain that in long term. Everybody can follow a diet chart for 1 day, 2 days, but to sustain this as a lifestyle practice is, I think, what is critical in this outcome. Get your medical parameters or your blood reports done. Look at addressing nutritional deficiencies, because certain deficiencies can also aggravate weight. If in some way you can look at addressing those deficiencies, you will have more energy, stamina, and you can work out better, strength train, increase your muscle mass, and in some way that will improve your metabolic rate.
Thank you, ma'am. I think that I'll also...
Veda, I'm sorry to cut you for 1 second.
Okay, sure.
Since we are on the topic of weight loss, I really wanted to ask this question to ma'am. There's a new trend that has been getting a lot of attention, where people are using the diabetes drug Ozempic for weight loss. People are not like simple things like using calorie deficit and strength training and sticking to programs for a longer duration instead of wanting instant results. So I wanted to know how we can counsel these clients.
So I think your name is Vasya, so
Yeah.
I hope I got that right.
Yes.
This is really not my expertise. I haven't worked with that, and I think if it's a medicine, I think you need a medical practitioner who's licensed to offer that support. But as dietitians, we can offer support through the right dietary or nutritional supplementation, and of course, meal plans, some basic lifestyle guidance on sleep, exercise, workouts, strength training, and so on. So I think this is beyond the realm of my experience. But yes, these short-term fixes can be gratifying, but in the long term, I know so many people who've done Atkins, keto, and so on, intermittent fasting, and then they go overboard, but unfortunately, they cannot sustain it lifelong. Meaning they try that for a few months, they shed a huge chunk of weight. The long-term outcomes of dyslipidemia, what's happening to their liver enzymes, what about their visceral fat? Because the high fat long term, of course, in athletic population, we have conclusive data to say high fat diets don't help performance, right? Because it's carbohydrate driven.
Yes, yes.
But in the long term, with some of these aspects, we really don't know the scientific data on what are the outcomes to that. But I can only speak from the diet aspect, please.
Yeah, yeah. Also, Veda and Harsha were my classmates back in undergraduation in Mount Carmel College. So it's really nice to see you guys.
Hi, Vasya.
Hi.
Yeah, so happy to hear all of you are Carmelites. So wonderful. And right, I've been doing this course so smoothly only thanks to Veda and Harsha. I think they have been hands-on, and I'm so grateful that, yeah, we're very lucky to have these girls.
Ma'am, and your course is very nice. It's very, very insightful. Although my expertise is in clinical nutrition, I have recently got myself into fitness and understanding sports physiology. And I must say, it has been a very insightful course. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Yeah.
Oh, how nice. Thank you. There are a lot of people who also send me private messages, emails, and on the feedback of the forum. So I am much appreciated and I'm grateful. There's always scope for improvement. We did the best in what we could have done at that moment. But yeah, thank you so much for that feedback.
Thank you, ma'am.
Ma'am,
Yes,
I think
Veda.
there's a participant who's raised hand, so I think we'll take that first and then I'll
Oh,
address.
sure. Pardeep.
Yes, excuse me, ma'am. I just want to ask about the internship opportunities after this completing the course. I have done MBBS. I have interest in the sports medicine. I have done this course. And tell me about the internship opportunity so that practical aspect can be seen.
You are a doctor.
Yeah.
Okay, and you're pursuing sports medicine from IOC.
Yeah, ma'am, I am interested in sports medicine.
Okay, sure. So, but you would like to do the internship for sports nutrition?
Yeah.
Sure. I think I don't know if this opportunity, is going to be offered right yet, but I'll come back to you on that, please.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. Veda?
I think Radha ma'am wants to ask something. So.
Oh, surely. Yeah, surely. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Geeta.
Yes, ma'am.
My question is on this anaerobic window. So I know that post-exercise, the muscle glycogen is depleted. The body wants to absorb more. So you said a carbohydrate and protein-rich diet would be helpful for endurance runners, right? I'm a marathon runner. So what if the running or the training is close to bedtime? You said we could have an early dinner and then keep the dinner light post exercise because it's close to bedtime and I won't be able to get sleep, right? I mean, did I get it right?
Okay, so you asked several questions.
No, one question.
Is not necessarily.
Okay, please.
So anaerobic is, I think, a requirement where the oxygen demand falls short to the workout where you are having high intensity sprints, where the glucose goes to pyruvate, but pyruvate doesn't finally convert to glucose, but it breaks into lactate. But in due course of that burning sensation for the buildup of lactate, which combines with the hydrogen ions and then becomes lactic acid. But if you slow down your intensity in due course of a few minutes, that's called the Cori cycle, if you remember the energy pathways, in some way it can metabolize back and convert back to glucose. That was one thing. So if you're doing high intensity workout, you're saying that in the late night of at the close to bedtime, how can we look at your dietary strategy?
Yeah, post exercise, then having a high protein diet before sleep is also will slow down my. I won't get sleep, right?
Interestingly, protein also offers tryptophan, which is a precursor of serotonin. So
Serotonin.
coincidentally, people think it's only carbohydrate that increases serotonin, but
Oh.
so does tryptophan. The Thanksgiving turkey, the turkey dinner of USA, which is very popular. So ma'am, just to break this down or dissect this for you, if you can plan your protein intake and so or your meals for that matter, your carb, try and do this through the day, maximize that, because protein can be consumed not just immediately before or after exercise, but what is important is that given in the 24 to 48 hours of the exercise, you can load up on carbs and protein prior to your workout too, so that you can have the bare minimum. For example, you may not want to do chicken, vegetables and something heavy after your workout, but you can do just tair sadam.
Okay.
One little katori which is easy to digest after your run, but you have maximized your protein intake, say in the first half of the day or even in the evening prior to your run. Carb load your meals 24 hours prior, so that, or eat a light snack prior to your run, and then just have a large bowl of white rice and dahi, which is very light on the tummy.
So the casein will help me.
No, there is casein and whey. There is casein and whey in the milk product. But then, however, what I'm saying is, because if you want a lighter meal at bedtime, which is easy to digest, you can manipulate your dish.
Okay, got it. That's my question. Thank you so much, Geeta. Bye.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am.
I think there's a very interesting question over here on YouTube, ma'am. So I'd like for you to address that, maybe.
Sure, please.
How do you educate the general population on the importance of application of nutrition in daily life, since advertisements are taking over people's psyche and there's less incentive to eating healthy? So how do we address this? So this is a very interesting one. So I thought, what's your take on this?
Sure, Veda. I can see Veda's enthusiasm. Yes, I think, like I always say, please be very wary of what you find on the internet, be it Google, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. What is important is that these medium of social media can offer good insights, provided you are following the right individuals. Like I always say, follow people with credentials. University professors, PhD scientists, dietitians. For that matter, I'm not saying that somebody who's not anybody of this profession is not giving out good data or information, but always remember to scrutinize and take it with a pinch of salt to see how much value there is or how much truth or science backed the guide or the suggestion is on. And yes, as dietitians and nutritionists, our requirement is to encourage people to eat better, eat healthy, have the food first approach. Even when we say supplements or take protein supplement or a creatine, we are never saying please do not eat food and swap your food to those requirements. The first priority is always learn to plan your meals correct. Like I always say, till date, I mean, I'm so proud of who I am. I do not have a domestic help who cooks my food. I cook my own food. I buy my own fruit, vegetables, and I'm mighty proud of this. You may call it OCD, but today I can have some help. But I mean, though I can afford that support system today, I take pride in cooking my food because I'm so judicious about the best of the ingredients that can go in and be careful. So I always urge for everybody to know cooking as a life skill. And I've also been a faculty for Cambridge. I mean, we've had the best chefs and these boys who've baked the best cakes and brownies. So what I'm saying is that everybody ought to know basics of life skill as cooking. Try to cook at least some of your meals at home. I know today with the instant gratification of food being delivered at an extra fee, even if there's torrential rains, today the money technology is just making everything so easy. But yes, I think to conclude to this query or to the question asked, don't believe everything you see, because these advertisements, these celebrity guys, these Bollywood folks must be making a lot of money as an incentive. They paid to do that. Their FSSAI is coming down very hard on the claims that is being made, even from endorsements. They would like individuals, Bollywood actors and celebrities to sign legally now to say that they have vet the claims and they want to propagate good or sound scientific information. So I think the government is doing its bit to come, to come to a consensus where there is a common ground between making money out of these endorsements and these advertisements. But yes, I'm not saying do not totally alienate or do not have to consume these foods at all. I think, like I always say, moderation is key. Please do enjoy the hyper palatable foods. Do go out and eat in restaurants, otherwise the chefs will kill us. But yes, everything in moderation of what you can handle. And then the remainder of the days in the week, try and keep a sustained or a disciplined lifestyle of eating better, eat home cooked meals, sleep at least 8 hours, exercise at least 2 to 3 times of strength training, or like the American Heart Association says, all you need is 30 minutes of activity 5 days. Remaining 2 days you enjoy. You sleep 10 hours or don't exercise. Doesn't matter. But consistently, what you can do, I think in the end, that's what's important.
Thank you, Mom. Thank you for that. I think there are also a lot of questions on protein. I'm just clubbing it up and just telling what are the things, elements of the question. I think one was about periodization of weight. And I think we also have a participant who was asked about how much protein intake for a 50-year-old endurance athlete and about like overall protein supplementation. And somebody with PCOS is also asked about, can I take whey after workout? So I think I've just clubbed it so that we can address it quickly.
Sure, Veda. Sorry, I think we've definitely shot over an hour like last time. I think last time also we've done 1.5 hours. So glad to hear people are so patient and engaged and they're staying on. I'm much appreciated and I'm grateful to each one of you. So thanks, Veda, for taking the trouble to put questions together. As we have suggested already in the videos or the lecture, Whey Isolate is a good one. People with PCOS also can take it. If you strength train, it's wonderful when you complement that. And 15-year-old, what protein can be taken? Is that the question?
50-year-old endurance athlete
50.
wants to know what would be like ideal protein intake and no health ailment as such. So
Okay, so if your diet is already adequate, then a little over 1 gram per kg body weight, or up to 1.5, because we say if you strength train, you want to keep it higher. Trust me, even I don't meet that requirement, in all honesty. I used to be vegetarian, now I'm lactose intolerant, and I think I'm also dealing with a few things. But planning a protein intake. So for 50 years, I don't know what his weight is. So if on an average you are even say 70 kgs, so 70 into 1 is 70 grams of protein itself, which means that if you do 2 eggs, you got 12 grams. If you do 100 grams of tofu, you're approximately hitting 9 grams. If you do tempeh, close to 100 grams, which is insipid. So a lot of vegetarian clients of ours don't enjoy that. So it really depends on what is your source of protein. Chicken, fish is easy to get. Poultry, which is again eggs and chicken, higher protein. But if you eat dals, 1 katori, it also gives you 15 grams of carb. If you eat chole, it also gives you a lot of fiber. So it's difficult to do large quantity. So yes, in a gist, I think planning the protein and distributing this across meals is always good. As you age, there's sarcopenia, loss of muscle mass. So it's better to keep protein a little high. If you fall short of protein, then please do add a protein supplement as a Whey Isolate.
thank you, Mom. I think that was concise. And there's one more question about creatine monohydrate supplementation. So will regular consumption increase my SGOT and SGPT values in a normal individual?
Absolutely no.
Okay. And
by the way, on that note, I think the liver enzymes can increase due to multiple things. Do you have a low-grade fatty liver? Even a thin, lanky person who's not on alcohol can have fatty liver. Do you take a lot of, white rice, sugar? Do you eat out a lot? I mean, fatty liver could be due to several reasons and which can indirectly influence liver enzymes. But that also is a slight endocrine disturbance in some way. Are you pre-diabetic? Is your HbA1c slightly elevated? What about your lipid profile? So I think you have to correlate them as a totality. Can't only look at liver enzymes, please. Creatine is safe, for heaven's sake, it's safe.
Yes. And couple of questions. I think one was on the dosage of omega-3 for somebody who's playing cricket and who's an adolescent. What would be the dosage? And the other one on follow-up with protein is about, does it affect, like if somebody has a low GFR, does it affect like the kidneys if you go on a protein supplementation?
So omega-3 for an individual, if they do not consume marine fish or there is no other source of omega-3, then anywhere between 1 to 2 grams can be taken daily. And yes, if you are a normal healthy individual with no problem of chronic kidney disease, for heaven's sake, you can take whey protein and it does not harm kidneys nor the liver. Misinformation and spreading wrong information can be a bigger problem than the whey protein supplement, please.
Okay, and there's another question about elevated uric acid levels and how to address it. And this is probably an endurance athlete who's told that who's not been able to go on a run for 2 weeks now. So,
oh dear. So that could be perhaps the deposition of these crystals as gout in the extremities or in the digits, which can be painful. So that may require a medical intervention if you are in pain and if you're not able to run. But uric acid can be elevated due to several reasons. One is the weight and consumption of high purine foods, which are high protein foods as organ meats, red meat, certain fishes, mackerel, sardines, and salmon. So this requires intervention, but adding strawberries and tart cherries and vitamin C in some way, losing weight and reducing the purine-rich non-veg diet can lower uric acid. But it takes time. And if it is unbearable, please do see a doctor because there are medicines to lower uric acid.
thank you, ma'am. I think there's another question about seed cycling and PCOS. So will it be helpful?
Guys, okay. Okay, there is no scientific validation in that. There is, I don't think there's any data to say seed cycling helps PCOS. PCOS is an endocrine disturbance and I think requires lifelong intervention in terms of certain dietary habits, avoiding high GI carbs, hyperinsulinemia, there is inflammation. So, and of course, there is higher testosterone in a female than what a normal healthy girl would have. So, you will have to look at some way bridging this with, sustained lifelong practices. And it's not about 1 or 2 days. Avoiding highly processed foods, sugars, alcohol, and so on. And of course, an anti-inflammatory diet, omega-3, a lot of antioxidants, dark chocolate, green tea, looking at fruits, vegetables, lean protein, avoiding, highly processed carbs as bread and so on, choosing whole grains as millets, quinoa. And of course, PCOS also can be an endocrine disturbance. So you have to evaluate in totality of what the other parameters or the blood evaluation look like.
Thank you, ma'am. I think there's one more question. How does fat convert to glucose during ketosis under dire circumstances? Because brain and RBC needs glucose as fuel. So this is Ankit's question. So if you could address that.
I wish I had done the exercise physiology course right now. By the way, the free fatty acids, I think, cross the brain barrier. So ketosis is nothing but where the body goes into not breaking down glucose for energy, but in a way the gluconeogenesis, where the amino acids and fatty acids are used to arrive at glucose. So that is a different pathway altogether, where you are restricting the carbs to so little that the body goes into fatty oxidation or fat oxidation.
Thank you, ma'am. Another question. This is about female athletes. So this is from L. Bhagyashri, and she says, ma'am, there are so many female athletes who are getting hormonal problems when the training load was increased. And what diet should we be looking at to address these issues?
PCOS, right?
Just like hormonal issues in general. That's what has been mentioned. So I'm not sure what the
Oh
person is
dear.
referring
Oh,
to.
that's a very
If they're here,
generic.
we can.
Yeah, it's a very vague and a very generic, broad theme. Hormonal imbalance can be due to several reasons. Nutritionally we can intervene, medically it can be intervened. And yes, I think, like I always take pride in the kind of work we do, which is laborious and exhaustive. Get into the nitty-gritties, dissect it, get to the depths of understanding the core or the crux of the problem, rather than just saying you have acidity and you take a Pantop, which is a hydrogen ion pump blocker, which is to prevent the secretion of acids so that you don't absorb your iron, magnesium, intrinsic factor, all of it is killed. But as dietitians, we say, do you drink too much coffee on empty stomach? Are you not eating? Are you not eating on time? And we want to kind of probe and question and arrive at a suggestion which is an alternative to avoiding the problem itself to begin with. I think as preventive nutritionists and dietitians, there's a lot of value. Why wait for things to aggravate and go to a medical professional? But if you work with nutritionists and dietitians, we can alleviate that and also avoid your medical bills and a hospital visit. So please work with professionals as us as dietitians and nutritionists. We are there to offer support.
Thank you, ma'am. I think Vasi has another question. While a person is on training adaptations looking to lose weight, is doing fasted workouts better to metabolize fat, or should they go with like proper fed workouts?
Is this a male or a female?
No mention of that.
Because
Female,
Dr.
ma'am, female.
Stacey's, yeah, they are saying fasted workouts are the worst for females.
Okay.
And it raises their cortisol even more, as cortisol is already elevated in the morning, right? So what happens is, in the state of fasted workouts where the liver glycogen is already low because of the overnight fast, it can kind of create an imbalance, particularly if it's an athlete or has high training load. So it's not advisable for female athletes.
Okay, and for male athletes, ma'am, is it different? I mean, can they do it?
Oh, yeah, they're testosterone driven, and of course, females metabolize fats more if you see in the chapter. But
Yes.
fasted workout in some way can be useful if somebody is looking to adapt to. Somebody asked about fatty acids going into converting glucose, right? Gluconeogenesis. So, in some way, if they're looking to change body composition, transformation, where they want to lower the fat mass, but lowering fat mass and oxidizing fat mass are two different things. If you lower the body composition, I mean, you're looking to alter body composition and increase muscle mass, you have to strength train, keep protein very high, because in a carb restricted diet, even protein gets used up for energy. And then you have to be in calorie deficit. That is lowering your body fat mass. But fat oxidation is working at lowered VO2 max, what 40, 60% of VO2 max, where you are working at a comfortable zone where you are able to oxidize or burn fat for energy, where 50% of your fuel for your workout in endurance workout like running, cycling, because creatine phosphate lasts for 10 seconds, the anaerobic or aerobic can be anywhere between 1 to 3 seconds, 3 minutes. Thereafter, after a point, you have to, I mean, at all given time, there are different pathways or different energy source being used for exercise.
Okay, thanks, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Yeah.
I think there's a follow-up question on cortisol, like in general. Can a person with high cortisol and low iron levels, should they be balancing protein intake and are there any specific diets?
I think they should be balancing their cortisol first. And then they need to increase the iron to have more oxygen and definitely more protein, so that they invariably, at least by what we understand, protein is the biggest challenge to get adequate, right? I mean, among so many micronutrients, be it the iron, zinc, or of the macros, protein is a big challenge. I mean, adequate fruit, vegetables, I think there's no one nutrient which is a magic wand. But in the totality or the holistic approach, you have to look at each nutrient for the value it adds. for a healthy living and wellness or well-being. So cortisol itself is a long-term stress hormone, and in some way, yes, it is needed. It's important for us to be charged in the morning. The day begins, the sleep-wake cycles, and there is a reason why with the biological cycle there is value or importance of each of how these hormones work. But yes, chronic stress, if it's uncontrolled or unmanaged, then that is where it leads to other inflammatory conditions and health issues when you don't address it correctly. So I think yeah, that was a slightly complicated what question though.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for your answer. Next question is from Mr. Om Prakash. He asks if you could suggest a good brand for omega-3 supplements and if he can take it daily. If so, what's the ideal time?
Okay, we don't know his age. Does he have health issues? Does he have dyslipidemia, high cholesterol, high triglyceride, low HDL, which is the high density or the good lipoprotein. So I think here better to do about up to 1000 mg each day, which is 1 gram is quite safe if you're doing daily. Always choose fish, which is third party verified at least. If possible, some of the Indian brands today, of course, they're available. Enteric coated fish oil is even better. At least it doesn't give you these very unpalatable fish burps. So I don't want to drop brands, but if you can source any good Arctic fish, even the smaller ones as sardines and trout and herring, which are lower in mercury, that's a good option. Salmon is a very good fish. So salmon fish or salmon omega is also a very good one. So always look at the cost versus what it contains. 1000 mg fish doesn't necessarily mean it is 1000 mg of EPA, DHA. Icosapentaenoic acid and docosahexaenoic acid can anyway vary between 300 mg all the way to over 1000. So when you purchase, I think my important criteria will be to see what is the cost involved and kindly look at the dose of the EPA and DHA, what total amount you can get from one single capsule. People think by paying, 1/3 the amount, they will get more omega. But then you will have to take 3 capsules if it's 300 mg, where you could just spend 500 rupees more and get an omega-3 capsule of 1000 mg, right? So I hope in some way I could simplify that.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. A follow-up question by the same person. He asks, how long should one wait after jaundice to start consuming creatine or any other supplements?
Depends on the age. Is it an adolescent, a child, and do they work out? Do they hit the gym? And besides, creatine is not just needed if you hit the gym and pump iron. Creatine is also a very powerful antioxidant, and in certain age-related conditions as Parkinson's and what's the other one? We know that creatine is extremely powerful for brain function and cognition. Even in concussion or injury in athletes, creatine is used in large dose. So in this generic guide, yes, it can be taken.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. The next question is from Ms. Pavitra. She's asking you on how we can keep up to day-to-day updates on nutrition, if there is any forum where we get regular updates, and if there is any internship opportunity that she can take under you.
So thank you so much. I do have a lot of requests for internship. I haven't done one yet till date. We'll keep that in mind. I'll discuss with Veda and Harsha surely. We have something planned, and let's see that very soon, once we officially can close that, we will try and share the details of the sports nutrition workshop. We've been just initiating the conversation on how to go about that. That's one thing. And now to keep updated, I don't know if there is one thing you could do, but yes, there are some forums. Like we are on the as an alumni of the IOC or the Olympics, we have a forum, but yeah, it takes a lot of effort and time for you to go back and get involved with these discussions. But yes, there are several ways you can keep updated from just signing up to newsletters, podcasts, getting some updates on research papers. So I think, like I say, there is no one medium, but even if you follow the right guys on Twitter, like the IOC says, there is a lot of information and abysmal data and based on your interests, you could read them. So there are sports nutrition groups on several forums you can try and become a member of.
Yes, thank you, ma'am. The next question, it could be a module by itself. Ms. Datta asks how to deal with type 1 diabetes mellitus athlete.
Oh, that's a very complicated one because it is an autoimmune condition where the body's immune system attacks the own pancreatic cells, and due to which the insulin is not produced. I have worked with a few type 1 cases. It's complicated because initially there is a lot of disturbance of the blood sugars. They need to be on the bolus insulin to the fast acting insulin multiple times through the day before each meal. And if they're particularly an athlete, it can be very disturbing because high intensity exercise increases blood sugars and they go into hyperglycemia instead of going into hypoglycemia, which is lowered blood sugar. So which means that this approach needs to be you need to be very patient. And I think also it happens where athletes and parents get very restless with this. Even for the sports dietitian to intervene the food, I think the dietary suggestions are the same as what you would manage with blood sugars, unless and until it's a competition day where you do not want any disturbance, but in some way you want to keep the blood sugar spikes low. However, yeah, it is requiring a lot of consistent interaction and close monitoring of the blood sugars, because there can be a lot of fluctuations initially, particularly if you are on insulin, and then of course helping the athletes or the clients with carb counting to understanding the ratio of the insulin to the carbohydrate intake in a way that you can work around the non-carb meals like proteins and non-starchy veggies and other things that can kind of stabilize the blood sugars in some way to also lower the glycemic load. That can be profound in maintaining steady blood sugars.
Thank you, ma'am. That was very comprehensive. Samvit asks how to contact you for consultation. He's based in Bangalore.
Thank you so much. I don't know if you're already enrolled in my course. So if you just Google me on the internet, you will never find my number anywhere. So thank you for even asking. Kindly drop me a message on any one of my handles, or please email me.
Yes, thank you, ma'am. The next one is interesting. Harshita wants to know your opinion on Herbalife products and if they are safe to consume.
Guys, it is not my opinion. Please, I think I'm here to give you science-backed data. But you know that there have been research papers published on liver failure. And this was in a peer-reviewed journal. So I think even when we do concoction or Ayurvedic supplements, even with protein, when it is added, we always tell elite athletes, follow your due diligence, be very, very careful. Purchase only as single standalone supplements for your own safety. Because if you're an elite athlete and if your dope test is positive, you are going to be banned. You will not be able to even compete or participate. So steer clear of complicated or very unscientific products. That's why we say, and if you're unsure, please, dietitians and nutritionists offer guidance for a very nominal fee. I mean, you would spend that much to eat a burger perhaps outside. Please do take, a brief consultation in order to clarify these things for your own safety, because a stitch in time saves nine. Rather be careful and safe than, regret later.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. Urvashi Anand asks for your guidance on pediatric nutrition courses.
Oh dear. Okay. I'm not very sure of one now, but if Veda and Harsha know, please, I'll be happy that you bridge this.
We are not too sure of the same, ma'am.
Yeah. Sweetie, leave a message on the forum and one of us will get back to you.
Yes, we should be able to do that. Harshita asks for some suggestions on books that can help her understand sports nutrition in detail.
It's already put up on the forum, guys. Please don't ask the similar questions what's already on the forum. We have like 150 messages on different topics. So yeah, there are dime a dozen books. It's already put up on the forum. So, guys, these questions are not ending. We've passed 1.5 hours. Are we good to wind down?
Okay, ma'am.
We have more questions coming in though. So, Raji Sukumar asked if it's okay to use vitamin D3 strips.
Depends on the value, the dosage, what is your blood parameter, and yes, why not? You can take it if you know, if that's comfortable for you and you don't want to swallow or powders are difficult. Of course, we also do parenteral, which are jabs, so it's very need based.
Yes, ma'am. The next person says, ma'am, it has been really resourceful, and with your knowledge and guidance, we'll be looking forward to that internship. Can you say anything to maintain on PCOS or PCOD, like the foods do's and don'ts?
Dear, PCOS, like I said, is already an inflammatory condition with hyperinsulinemia, which means that you will follow a meal plan similar on the lines of, say, DASH, Mediterranean, which is plant-based, whole grains, pulses, nuts. You will try and avoid foods that are inflammatory, which is your fast food, samosas, white bread, sugar, because you do not want to eat these kind of foods, and keep your omega-3 high, your marine fish, lean protein. Look at anti-inflammatory diet, please. We've already mentioned this twice again, already in this session itself. Guys, are we good to wind down?
I think we should be able to. We've covered almost all the questions here on Zoom. And Veda, are there any questions?
No, I think we're good to go. We have answered most of the questions, and rest all, like some of the simple questions are already there in the coursework. And if it's still not addressed, we will be addressing it on forum. So please reach out there.
Yeah, sure. Great. So thanks each one of you who has stayed on till the end. Much appreciated. And thank you. And a lot of messages coming in thanking us. So I wish I could also actually see all the chat box, but so kind of each of you. I'm grateful for all of you who enrolled into this program, and we are learning alongside. And I, of course, thank Harsha and Veda for being so hands-on and so diligent about everything, without whom this course cannot run smoothly. So a big round of applause to these two girls. And thanks, guys. Have a wonderful Sunday of what's left, and enjoy the evening. And yes, like Veda said, if there's still something that you would like to ask us, please do post on forum. I think the girls are very, very disciplined in their daily responses. So if there's anything beyond that you want to reach out, of course, they're always in touch with me regularly. So if anybody needs something that needs to come straight from me, I can always, respond to that particular query. Mariappan wants to say something.
No, I'm just acknowledging. Yeah, I'm just saying acknowledging.
Oh, we did not hear you. Sorry.
No, I'm just saying bye.
Oh, all right. Thank you. I was anyway going to say yours is the last question.
Okay.
All right, Mariappan. Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. The course, I'm really enjoying the course.
No, I'm so happy to hear. Thank you so much. Much appreciated. Urvashi, I think
Thank you,
Urvashi
ma'am.
also back. Thank you so much.
Yeah, ma'am, I echo with everybody. I think the course is really insightful and meaningful. I think there are a lot of these little tips that you've added kind of adds value to the course, right? I mean, I think I've been doing one course from IGMPI as well, and there is a lot of theory, but those little nuances that you cover in your course is really, really meaningful. Those little things that you've added kind of give insights, like, oh, you start thinking, right? You actually enable us to put our thinking caps on. So thank you so much for all the wonderful course content that you've put together.
Much appreciated. Yeah, it has taken all three of us a lot of effort. Making those presentations was one thing, but trust me, I mean, all three of us work. That is Veda, Harsha, and myself. So you can imagine we are multitasking and perhaps holding 2-3 portfolios at a given time. So in addition to that, to put together these assignments, to ensure there are no errors, to plan question papers, to vet them and do quality check. In spite of that, sometimes there can be human errors. So please pardon that. I mean,
Absolutely.
we try to do the best we can with what we are able to put together. But yes, it's a huge learning for all of us. And I'm like I said, I'm thankful to each one of you who's, involved in this engagement. And I think that really makes this more meaningful, because honestly, it was just the passion for putting together this course, and I think that was the only motivation. Honestly, it was nothing else for me, not for these two girls.
Yeah, thank you, Veda, and thank you, Harsha, for helping ma'am to put all of this together.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much.
Yeah, I genuinely mean it. I think the girls are wonderful and they have a bright future. They're so young, just out of college, but I think they're very special, and yeah, they're very talented young lot.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Great, guys. So on this happy note, let's wind down. So adios, and we'll be in touch. Good luck for the exam, and we're going to roll out something more very sooner or later. But yeah, keep us. I mean, rather, please stay in touch, and we will announce a workshop soon.
Awesome. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Akshay, are we good to close?
Okay, madam. Okay, madam. Thank you, madam.
Thank you, Akshay. Thank you so much. And of course, I'm so sorry. We forgot to thank Akshay. Akshay is the person who has done the entire content, recording, the lecture edits. Of course, Veda and Harsha have helped. So Akshay, maybe, I don't know if you're still there. Please show us your face. So Akshay is a super talented guy, and he works with IIT Madras. So Akshay
Yes,
is
ma'am.
the backbone of this course.
Hi, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Okay, sorry, Akshay, I called you without notice. I'm very sorry for that. But Akshay is the most kind and the most humble guy, who is really the backbone of this program. All the recording to everything put together in the back end is from Akshay.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
A huge success, and I think all thanks to Akshay.
Thanks, ma'am. Okay,
Okay,
ma'am.
thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Akshay. Thanks for all the help. Yeah. Bye. Good evening.
Bye, ma'am.
Bye, everyone.